Welcome to Entrepreneur Voices, the IEC podcast, where entrepreneurs and business leaders share their insights and success stories. In today's episode, host Renee Oswald sits down with Monty Spaulding, owner of Uptown Plaza and previous owner of Kettle Embroidery. They will discuss Monty's entrepreneurial journey and the challenges he faced in building his businesses. Let's get started.
Monty Spalding, welcome to Entrepreneur Voices. It's great to have you here today.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Well, we're happy to be able to talk to you more. I don't know a whole lot about Kettle Embroidery. That's the name of your business, correct?
Yep.
And what we'll come to find out is that you no longer are the owner of that business.
Correct.
Okay. Well, stay on the edge of your seats, everyone, because we've got to hear this story and how everything has progressed. So I don't know if you're aware of my background, but we are a small business also in Rexburg and Idaho Falls. So I'm always interested to hear stories about how small businesses come to be. So tell us a little bit about Kettle Embroidery. Like, how did that, have you been in that business for decades? What does that actually look like as far as how did you get into that business?
So my wife and I owned it for about 10 years before we just sold it January 1st.
Okay.
Before that, I worked there for 12 or 14 years, just learning the different functions and different levels of management and working towards the goal of buying it.
You kind of knew that was going to be on the horizon as you were working there, that you knew you were going to buy it?
At first I didn't. A few years into it, as I spoke with the owner about it, Dan Kettle that owned it before, he told me that was kind of his goal when he hired me, that to work me into that so that he could retire.
Excellent. Well, that explains where the name came from.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's not Spalding Embroidery.
Right. Yeah, we were nervous of changing the name of it when we bought it because we didn't want it to disappear off social media or off the internet and have people go, oh, they're out of business and lose our customers.
Yeah, that's always a concern. And I think for a lot of us who are acquiring businesses, that's one of the things that you have to kind of decide, like, am I going to stamp my own name on it? Do we keep it the way it is? Did you also feel like perhaps people would not know that it changed hands and it could just kind of be seamless?
I think that played a small part into it. One of the challenges, which we'll probably talk about later, of a small town is that everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
So I don't think that changing ownership in our town was really a concern because everybody knew or was going to know.
And you'd worked there for so long.
Right.
So they probably knew you from just that whole thing.
Right. Had a familiar face. So
So why was this something that you decided after a few years, you and your wife, you were like, yeah, I think we want to be business owners? Because it's nice to be able to collect a paycheck and to not have to worry about all of the other things that you have to worry about when you own a business. What was it that made you guys decide, like, yeah, we actually want to do this, want to take on those extra challenges?
Well, my wife was brave or crazy.
Yeah, probably a little bit of both.
I've wanted to be a business owner since I was little. So it's just been a thing. And I never had, I want to own a car dealership or I want to own a race car business or whatever. I wanted to own a business and I understood how business worked. And so I've discovered that the type of business for me didn't really matter what it was. It's being able to understand how it functions and operates. I think that they pretty much all operate the same if you understand business flow.
Yeah, that is what I've come to understand as well. And interviewing many entrepreneurs over the years, although we have all different kinds of things, different kinds of businesses, we all deal with the same challenges and employees and all of the expenses, and they might be a little bit different, but we all have them. So yeah, isn't that the truth? I totally agree with you there. And the other thing about it is, I don't know about you, but when we got into business, I was like, I have no business being in business. Did you feel that way? Did you have any kind of sense of...
Huge eye-opener. For ever since high school, I've been in management of some kind, whether fast food or different jobs. And to move from management into the ownership and all of a sudden everything's on you and your responsibility, that was a huge eye-opener. And we had a rough first year figuring out how to do it.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. When you decided to purchase the business, be the owner. Did you have some kind of a mentor, a coach? Was it the old owner? Did they kind of help ease you into it? What did that look like for you?
I feel like probably the most introduction we had, probably the last year-ish of the transition before we bought and sold. He introduced me more into a deeper level of the finances that I didn't understand and how the bills were processed and paid. I had been doing like employee management stuff for years already, so I was already
that
into
side
that.
you were comfortable with, yeah.
Right. But even then, there wasn't like total transparency in the business. So when we took over, it was still a huge, we thought we knew, and then we learned.
Yeah. Did you have anybody help you through that process? Or
My
did you just
wife has
figure it out?
an accounting degree,
Oh,
so between the two of us, we muddled through it, and we
Yeah.
have some friends both in accounting and operating other businesses that were like, hey, what's going on here? How do we approach this? And make sure we didn't have too big of fires.
Yeah. Have you found in the business world that people are usually pretty good about helping each other out when you're asking questions like that?
I have. I don't know if everybody shares the same view that I do, but I hope that it comes with just wanting to be in the entrepreneurial world, that I have a genuine concern. I love to see other people start a business, succeed, and grow it, and I love it. That's probably the most important thing to me. Watching is help somebody be successful.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you had the opportunity to do that with other people who were looking at entrepreneur?
We've had several visits with both the college students that are leaving their majors and wanting to get us in business. We visited with some. We've done some just training stuff. We've done a couple of paid and non-paid internships with some people to try and help them get their feet on the ground. And I've had other business owners ask me for, hey, how do you do things with the loan part of things, and how do you do your accounting stuff? So yeah, we've had people reach out. Yeah,
it's kind of fun to be in that position, especially in a small town where people know you have had a successful business, and so they're looking to you to be like, well, how's that happen? Because we want to do the same thing. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so let's go back to when you acquired the business. Did you keep everything the same, or did you say, oh, that looks like it's been working, but we're going to expand on it? What did you do? Was it your philosophy to just keep it the way that what you knew success was?
It was a mix. There were a lot of things. He had set up a great business flow as far as the customers and how the machines worked and the flow of work in and out. We changed some management things, and we changed like how we schedule things. We moved from paper and whiteboards to Google Docs and computers, and that was a pretty hefty change when we switched over from all the paper files and scanned everything that we had ever done into the computer.
Wow.
It took years.
Oh my gosh.
I bet 20 full file cabinets of papers that we just nonstop scanning stuff in.
Wow. That's amazing. I don't know that I would have done that.
Well, we have a special need that our customers over there, they do a lot of, hey, remember that thing I ordered 3 years ago? We want to do that same thing again.
Yes.
So we have to keep a really good record of what somebody did 3 years ago so that we can pull it up and do a repeat.
Yeah. So how do you do that? Like in the business, because you have designers that actually create things for apparel, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so is there some design system that you used to like keep that on file?
No, I've discovered I'm kind of a master at using things in a way they're not supposed to be.
Oh, okay, great.
So we had, the biggest step was we had one of the copy companies that you rent your copiers from or pay maintenance on. We had them set up a scan copier, and then QuickBooks has a function where you can attach files to customer files, like an invoice or whatever.
Got it.
So we took all of these tickets and we scanned them all in and attached them to the customer invoices, which made our company file huge.
Yeah, right.
But we're able to archive everything. We can pull up anything, and I can see what somebody ordered 7 years ago.
Attached to
and
that customer.
Yeah, what shirt, what color it was, what ink we used.
Perfect. Awesome.
So.
And you do embroidery as well as print?
Mm-hmm. Yep, screen printing and embroidery. We also do engraving. Just recently, we moved into UV printing and DTF printing. which is direct to film printing. So
Very cool.
we're looking at we try to tell our customers, if you need your name on something, we do it.
Okay. Not signage though.
We do some signage.
Oh yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, you guys seem to cover like the whole gamut then for things that need to be, like you said, I need my name on something. You can do it.
That's our goal.
Okay. So when you went to acquire the business, did you bootstrap that? Did you have to go to the bank for a loan? What did that look like? And did you have any idea what that process was going to be?
That was also a learning experience.
Yes.
So it was a combination of things. The Dan, the previous owner, he wanted to not be totally out of it and take a large lump payment because of taxes. He wanted to kind of fund his retirement for a few years. So we did a combination that we went to the bank and took out a loan for a portion of the down payment. And then we did an owner carry where we paid him over the portion of that that year. It was originally an 8-year loan, and I think we paid it off or a 10-year loan, we paid off in 8 years.
Yeah, can you speak to that at all? Like, you've just gone through somebody purchasing that from you. Are you guys under that same arrangement? Do you feel comfortable answering that?
Yeah. So the original plan was that we were going to have them do actual bank loan for the whole amount. Our plan was to retire and invest it and go that route. Working with the SBA was not very enjoyable. They really threw a lot of wrenches into the plan and made us restart things over and over and refile stuff. And then they kept changing the rules and the gameplay. We went from January, about 3rd of 24 working with the SBA, and about first part of November, I had enough.
Yeah, right.
We
That's
were
a long
supposed
time.
to sign and or at least be ready to sign by the end of October.
Now, let me clarify. Working with the SBA on behalf of the people who were purchasing it from you?
Yeah, we sold it to our son and his daughter.
Oh, got it.
So we kind of did it as my wife and I, and he and his wife tag teamed it, and we just totally open, transparent with each other. Everybody knew what was expected and what was going in and coming out. And
Got it.
so we just addressed it all together. But we finally
Did
got
that complicate things because it was a family?
I don't feel like it did. The reason we wanted to do a full loan in the first place, which is, of course, the reason everybody wants to, is that the risk factor falls on the bank.
Yeah, right.
If they buy the business and something happens in the economy, or they are not able to run it and it dies, we got our money from the bank's out, and they're not. So that moves the risk. By doing an owner carry, if something happens in the economy and the business has some kind of failure problem, we don't get paid and the business is gone.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, right. So go on. You were talking about the SBA.
yeah, so they just kept changing things and saying, oh, now we got to do it this way, and we got to change it over, and now we got to refill out all the paperwork. And finally we're like, you know what? We're just going to do an owner carry. It's going to be easier anyway. And we did a thing with them that we wished had happened with us when we bought the business. We've spent the entire last 10 years being open with my son that one day he wanted to buy it. And so he knew what all the finances were. But we also structured the company that the income of the company is now able to pay its own loan payment. So a lot of times when people buy a business, they go in and they get a loan, and then maybe they don't get a paycheck for a while because money is too tight.
Right.
But we structured it so that he could take over our salaries and our expenses, and the business could still pay its own way.
Mortgage.
So, which helped us know that we were selling the business for what it was actually worth, because it can pay its own way.
Yeah, I think there's so much wisdom in what you've just said, because so many people who start a business don't take a wage. And, we're just happy to be able to pay the bills. But one of those bills should be your salary. And so often we just, I don't know, is it rose-colored glasses? Like, we just want it so bad that we're willing to not take a salary out of this thing. I mean, it's funny that we do that.
Yeah, I think that that's a thing that happens. I remember a long time ago when I applied for a job, I thought about going into computer programming, and I interviewed with a ton of people because it was a cool thing to do. And they said, we're going to offer you this much. I don't remember what it was ridiculously low. And I said, that's not enough to pay my family. I said, we have so many people applying, they'd work for free. And I said, well,
yeah, go ahead and let them.
Hire one of them.
Yeah, that might be a better choice, because I need a paycheck. Yeah, it is interesting to me that there's too many of my friends and colleagues that have gone without. And I understand why we do that, because again, that's the way we know we can get into the business. But yeah, we still have to live a life. And then work-life balance becomes completely out of whack. So did you give any advice to your son as he was coming into this about work-life balance, or what that looked like as far as how to manage all of the tasks of being a business owner?
I'm hoping that over the past 10 years that we owned it, that he watched. He was still living at home for part of those years and then married, but he understood that sometimes it's Saturday and Sunday, and lots of times it's staying until later night at night and coming in early. So he knew, but we always made time for family time. And we really valued our employees and made sure that they knew if there was family things going on that they needed to take time off and go to the ballet concert or the choir thing or the wrestling tournament. And we tried to have our family do the same thing.
Yeah, good advice. Okay, well, stay tuned, because when we come back from our break, we're going to continue to talk to Monty about some of the challenges in his business and how he's overcome them, and any advice for future entrepreneurs out there.
Okay.
Hey listeners, we hope you're enjoying today's episode of Entrepreneur Voices. This episode is brought to you by Oswald Service and Repair, the trusted name in automotive repair and service since 1939. Learn more about how Oswald Service and Repair can keep your car happy and healthy at oswaldserviceinc.com.
Okay, welcome back. Monty, tell us a little bit. You talked about hiring people. How's that been over the years for you?
We've seen quite a change in how that works. When we first bought the business, and even before we bought it and I was in the managing and hiring, it used to be that you post a job and there were so many applications. We had to really go through and figure out who we wanted to hire and who was the best fit. And we've watched that, especially since COVID, the C word, that things really changed. The applicants changed to a lot less applicants, the quantity of them, and we really had to be a lot more careful and selective of who we hired, because there were so many people that wanted a paycheck, but not necessarily the job that goes with it.
Yeah.
So we've seen a real shift in people that are eager to work versus people that are eager to get paid.
Mm-hmm. Do you, because this is a college town that you're in, did you rely a lot on the students to be your staffing?
Not very much. We have an interesting business model. The things that we do over there, they take quite a bit of time to learn. So being a machine operator and things, we're 3 to 6 months before someone's usable, we call it.
Wow.
But before they can run things and not mess stuff up and cost us a lot of money.
Yeah.
And the same thing, it just seemed, we hire what's called a customer service job, and we always tell people it's more than customer service, because you have so much. They've got to remember where to order things from, how much, how to schedule it, how to write the job up. And we always tell them, you're a good 6 months before you feel like I got this.
So it doesn't really fit a student.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot of students apply, and the other thing that's interesting with our business is, because we deal with customers so much, it becomes kind of an intimate relationship as far as friendship or depending on someone. If you were our customer, you would come in and be like, hey, remember that thing I did 3 years ago?
Yeah, right.
And you want to work with the same person who understands. They already asked you all the questions. They've already set up your stuff. They know what you need. And it's frustrating for customers to come in and be like, oh, I've got to work with somebody new. I've got to train them again to do my stuff.
Yeah.
So we like long-term, and it takes a long time to learn. So a college student that's only got 3, 6, maybe even a year, it's really hard to get that rotation to work correctly with our customers. We had a lot of people that wanted to do part-time jobs, which is also hard because we don't know if the customer's coming in at 10 a.m. or 4:30, and there's always frustration when somebody's, how come they're never here?
Yeah, right. So how did you overcome those challenges?
We're really selective in who we hire. We try to hire people that want to be long-term. We tried to pay more than the average low wages that, everybody wants to hire low, because as a business owner, you got to keep your costs down.
Yeah, right.
But we wanted people that would stay a long time. So we tried to be a little bit above that. The people that we looked for, it fits really well to have ladies in the office, because it's not a $75,000 a year job, so it can be a second income, and they don't have to worry about all the things that maybe keep you away from your family all the time and stuff. We were pretty lenient with that. So
yeah, good. So you've been able to retain a pretty good staff, and
yeah, we go through seasons of turnover. I think everybody does.
Yes, indeed, indeed. Another challenge I want to talk to you about is how have you competed with, the larger retail stores or online? You see there are certain companies that are advertising, hey, we can do whatever you want and we'll send it to you. And it feels like that's a bit impersonal, but how have you competed with that?
That's really actually an important part of what we do. So many places. In fact, that's one of the things we changed when we took over the business. If you see those people advertise and say, hey, we'll do your shirts or whatever, what they don't tell you is that you got to order 24 or 36 or 100, and we tell people we'll do one. It's not real cost effective to do one, but there's some people that only want one or two things.
Yeah.
And so they spend their time all over the internet or calling people and they're sorry, 24, sorry, 36. And we're just like, sure, come on in. We'll take care of you.
And we'll keep it on file. So next time when you want something, I've got you. Yeah.
So it really does set us apart that we will do any number of what somebody wants. We don't ever want to tell anybody no.
Mm-hmm. So do you feel like, do you have large accounts that they're hiring, that they're ordering big quantities? We do.
One of the things that all the people that want you to advertise with them there is, who's your market? And our market truly is everybody. We do the mom that needs a birthday shirt for a 3-year-old, or we do school accounts or big corporate accounts. We ship some accounts across the country. So
you can handle all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How have you kept up with changing? Obviously technology as far as the changing all of the accounts to the computer and stuff, but has it affected your embroidery machines and the other machines that you use in actually performing the work?
It's kind of funny. These machines that we use, they don't change very much. The software that we use changes a lot. We've got to always be learning how to do the graphic design stuff and setups, but some of the machine stuff, you look at it and you're like, that's crazy. This is like from the 70s or whatever.
So do you have equipment that you acquired from the Kettle? Mm-hmm. Okay, you do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We have some that we're still using. We've traded out probably most of it by now, probably 75% or more, just with newer machines, because they really take a beating.
Yeah, I imagine. I don't know how sometimes you guys embroider some of the things that you do, because it seems like you'd have to stand on your head and be crooked or something to be able to do that.
Yeah, you'll have to come see sometime. Yeah, we get pretty creative. They clip into the machine, and sometimes we got things propped up or somebody standing there holding it. Or
yeah, I imagine you have to get a little bit creative with all of that. Do you have seasonal demand?
We do. We've been really fortunate in our area. So our seasons, and I say seasons because there's multiples of them, we go through a spring sports season, we go through a family reunion, summer activities season, and a fall sports, and we go through a Christmas season. So they're really good at the humps, we'll call it, in the graph. They pretty much cross over each other. The only real down we have is January and February, when everybody's spent all their corporate money or their budget for Christmas. Everybody's tired, and everybody just is like, we need a break, and it kind of turns into a cleaning and catch-up season for us.
Did you know that going in, that was going to be a down? How did you manage that?
I freaked out a lot.
I bet you did, yeah. Like, what?
Even after owning it for 10 years, I watched the numbers pretty good. January hits, and I'm like, we're not going to be able to pay our bills or pay the employees, or because it really bottoms out. But we learned to budget and put money aside so that we could afford to have that money through the coasting season. The first couple of years that we opened, we ended up doing a couple of loans from the bank because we're like, we're not going to make payroll for a little bit, or we can't catch our vendors up after Christmas or whatever. So we would borrow a little bit and pay it off during the year. And for a few years, we did that every spring. And then we got to the point that we learned how much to save and how often. And
and you were probably making more. I really appreciate that perspective, because I think, again, we go into business ownership kind of naively thinking, well, we can pay the bills. But some of these things, I wouldn't necessarily think that embroidery, like screen printing and all that kind of stuff was seasonal, but makes sense when you explain it. And where's the money going to come from in January?
Right.
Thankfully, we do have lines of credit and other ways that our bank can kind of help get us through that time.
Right.
Yeah, thank you for that. I want to talk to you a little bit about running a business in a small town. You might not have much perspective because you haven't done it in a big town, but do you feel like there were particular challenges in running a business in a small town?
Probably the biggest challenge is everybody talks, which that's a good thing and a bad thing. But if you mess somebody's order up, everybody knows you messed their order up.
Yeah, probably too, after social media came in, you really saw that.
Right. Yeah. You can go along and everybody who owns a business knows this. You can do 1,000 things right. You mess up one thing and everybody in the world knows.
Yeah,
Nobody
right.
knows you did 1,000 things right, just that you messed up the one and it was a big deal. And
Yes. So how did you manage that?
the other part of offering one of something or however many people want is that we pride ourselves in making sure we stand behind what we do. If we mess something up, we do everything we can to make it right. And sometimes, we miss an event because we messed something up and it was too close, and we always feel bad about that. But we've had orders that we take and throw a $3,000 worth of shirts in the dumpster and start over.
Ouch. Yikes.
And we don't argue with the customer and say, hey, it's going to cost us this much. Sorry, split it with us or you're out of luck. We always
Just
make it right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. I'm sure that has helped with your reputation of being a business that people want to actually, patron and have their things done with.
We hope so.
Well, it sounds like it because you have had some success now that you're on to second generation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of fun. Is there any other advice that maybe you gave to your son thinking that he was coming into this business?
One of the things, and I can't even remember who it was that told me, if it was the previous owner or our accountant, she's amazing, is when you go from managing your own personal bank account and you're talking about hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars rolling through your account every month as you pay your house payment, your car payments, and all of a sudden you've got hundreds of thousands of dollars in a bank account that you're paying. We have one vendor that we pay over $500,000 a year to.
Yeah, right.
And so you've got to remember that money's not yours. So you can get starstruck if you call it that, but to see all that money in there and be like, oh, hey, I've always wanted to, name your thing.
Yeah,
I
right.
want a fancy car or whatever. It's not your money to do that. You got to live still within your budget. And that's a hard thing to learn when you all of a sudden have extra zeros at the end of all your things.
I love that because I would be lying if I tell you I hadn't fantasized about just cleaning out all of our accounts and disappearing at one point.
Right.
Like how long could we live on this particular? Now we're not going to do it, but there's a little bit of fantasy going on there.
So.
All right. Do you have any other advice for any future entrepreneurs out there, especially in small town kind of settings, or anything that you would say to anybody thinking about owning their own business?
Well, probably to put into perspective, we've got our last son at home. He's a senior this year, and he's decided that he kind of wants to pursue an entrepreneurial kind of career. And he keeps saying, hey, how do I get into buying a building so I can rent it out? Or how do I get into buying some real estate so I can do something? And the true best advice I can give him is you got to put the time in. That time amounts to earning the money that you can put down on a loan, or learning the experience so that you can manage people or manage budgets. I truly believe that anybody who skips the putting the time in part, someone can fall into a business and not have the experience. It's going to fail. They can have somebody give them a bunch of money they don't have to pay back or whatever. They don't know how to manage it. They're going to fail. Mm-hmm. It's so valuable to put the time in.
I think that's hard for a younger generation to hear because somehow they believe that you can be successful overnight.
I do believe that. Our son that's a senior, he's grown up the last several years watching all these YouTubers that they get on, and, you got these crazy guys that'll drop stuff off the top of a building and they're millionaires overnight, or these guys that they get funding and they go buy these Lamborghinis or Ferraris or whatever, and they're showing everybody their cool cars. They don't tell them all of the, a million people who tried to do what they're doing and failed. Yeah. And these one guys. But I'm pretty sure that these guys, even that are successful on YouTube, if they had to run a business, they wouldn't be able to.
They couldn't do it. Yeah. Well, and what I have seen in my experience is that there really are no overnight successes. That there's like a 5 or a 10-year story before you have this overnight success, which, isn't really an overnight success, is it?
Right. Yeah. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I don't know that people see that, but it is, but it's worth it.
Well, knowing now that you have a son in high school, seems like you are too young to retire. Do you have plans? Like, what are you doing now?
Well, our plan was to sell the business and then just retire. We have a few grandkids, and we thought, we'll travel and do some stuff. But we had an opportunity to buy the building that Kettle Embroidery's in, which...
So now you're slumlords. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. We went from business owner to landlord. So yes.
Landlord.
But yeah, it's different. Along with the building, we acquired an event center. It was called the Woodman Ballroom.
Okay.
And so
yeah, right.
I'm hoping that what I said earlier about running a business works no matter what kind of business it is. Because I know nothing about running an event center and weddings and receptions. And I hope my wife's so much better at it than I am.
Yeah, well, that actually could be a lot of fun.
I think it will be. I'm excited for the challenge of learning how the flow of money goes through and how to take care of our customers. One of the things that people asked me, it's not been too many years ago, I said I always wanted to be a business owner, and I never really thought about why. I think we go through stages of, we want to be rich when we're a kid or whatever.
Yeah, right.
Some people want to be in charge of people and be able to boss them around and be the man or whatever.
Yeah.
But I really had never thought about it. And really, probably around COVID, somebody asked why I wanted to be a business owner. And really, it's because I want to help people. Everything that we do is we take a thing that somebody needs and we turn it into something that they can use and is more valuable. We take a thing that's small and turn it into a big usable thing and help people succeed. So that's what I love about being an entrepreneur and a business owner, is just being able to help people.
Okay, so one of the questions that I wanted to ask is, you talked about taking over the business, and it's always interesting when you start a business, like, who's going to be on your team when you began that? So clearly you talked about yourself and your wife, and she had some accounting experience. Mm-hmm. Were there any other integral team members that you had, that you brought on with your at the purchase, and that you still have, perhaps?
So definitely my wife was the biggest. We talked to so many people that are like, I can't believe you and your wife can work together. We'd kill each other, which totally not the case. I can be having a worse day if you've got one problem after another, and my wife walks in, and that's like, oh,
she can help me solve
we
this.
can survive the day now.
Yeah.
So, and that's a real thing. It's not, I'm not just saying that because she's sitting over there listening, but but she really is my support. She keeps me grounded. I talked about freaking out in the finance time of January, February and stuff, and she always is there to remind me that, it happens every year. We get in this slump, and we're going to make it through. My son that bought it, Matthew, he has worked with us the entire time that we owned it and a little bit of time before that. And he was really a critical person in there. He learned how to run all the departments and the machines and keep things going. And he relieved a lot of pressure off of us that we could work on the company and not working on the jobs.
Yeah, right.
Which is important as an owner. Mm-hmm. We've gone through a couple of accountants, not because the accountants messed things up or whatever, but just because people moved in and out of the firms, and so we just found somebody that we trusted. And because when you work with an accountant, they know everything about you financially.
Right.
They know where all of your dollars go,
they
whether
sure
you're wasting money, you're being wise with your money, and
buying snow machines or whatever on the
right.
side.
And they're there to tell you, you shouldn't have done that, or don't do that, or you ought to do this. And so it's really important.
Anybody else on the team that you can think of that has helped you be successful?
We've got a good accountant. He has been really good with contracts for us and helping make sure that things are in line. When we bought the business, we always laugh about, he took the contracts and looked through them and he was like, oh no, and he's crossing stuff off and adding stuff in, and really looked out for us and made sure that we didn't get just errors or taken advantage of or whatever. And he did the same thing for us when we were selling. He was really careful
with
about.
With the disclaimer of, I can't give you legal advice because I'm an accountant, but here's my advice.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So our family's been a really, really good supporter. And the community is just so amazing. One of the things that I love about a small town business is I love going to the grocery store or Walmart or whatever, and I see people that I know. And I love that they're wearing a shirt we made or a hat we made. Yeah. You just to be able to see your friends that you've made through business and that people are using the thing that you build for them. It's good.
Yeah. Well, we wouldn't have business without customers.
That's right.
So they are an integral part of that team. You're right. Well, it sounds like we're very fortunate that you've decided to stay in the game for a little bit longer and be such a critical piece of especially downtown Rexburg. So thank you so much for all of your leadership and your business sense and savvy. And thank you again for being on the show today and helping impart some of the knowledge that you've learned over the years. We really appreciate it.
You bet. Glad to be here.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Entrepreneur Voices. We hope you gained valuable insights from Monty's expertise. Thanks for being a part of our community.